All right, everybody, let's get this started. Thursday, June 6, 2024, Town Council meeting. We always like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag's behind us, and I'd love for Grace Mary to lead the way.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There he is. The man,
Hey, the minute of the hour,
I know, I think we,
the end of the day,
we're supposed to stand down when you come in. I'm not really sure how this works.
should we flag? Jealousy.
He'll get there one day.
Yeah. All right, let's go right into roll call. Here.
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 Here, Mr. Troncone
Here.
and Mr. Wilcox.
No problem. He texted
late.
a minute ago and said he's gonna be 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, let's keep rolling. We have our quorum. We can keep rolling. Let's go to the next item, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So move. Second.
We have a so moved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. Minutes from the May 9th, 2024 Town Council meeting. Motion to approve the minutes from the May 9th, 2024 Town Council meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, this part's for me. The next one is about the closed session meeting. The mayor and town council met in closed session on Thursday, May 9th, 2024 at 7:45 PM to discuss the resolution of an issue with a vendor for the town regarding monies owed to the vendor and associated contract issues. In attendance at the meeting were Mayor Benton, all council members, Stacy Myler, town clerk, and Karen Ruff, town attorney. This meeting was closed under the general provisions article of an annotated code of Maryland, section 3-305B7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice, and article 3-305B8 to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about potential litigation. No action was taken at this meeting except to provide direction to the town attorney. The meeting was adjourned at 7:52 PM. All right. Let's move into scheduled appointments. Tonight, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over to the DB just to introduce and.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce Ryan. He's from Calvert County Soil Conservation. And he is also a Twin Beach resident. I'm not gonna say he's living in the wrong beach. He lives in the Twin Beach area and he walks boardwalk frequently. So he is very familiar with our problems in town. And what I got talking to Ryan, I knew him through the farming part of my lifestyle, but you know, I met him and we got talking about the projects they've been doing about sediment erosion and offshore breakwater protection, those type of things. He became very interested in coming up, taking a look at what we have. He's seen it before, like I said, because he's very familiar with the area. And then provide, they want to provide a solution to our problem that we have along from 7th Street South to the boardwalk there. So with that, I'd like Brian to take over and give his presentation. I think y'all really enjoyed it. It's really some exciting ideas.
I just like to add on to your intro, because I'm pretty excited about this presentation. You know, when the flood action plan was released in 2023, Donnie and Mike and I promised you all that, promised the town that the plan wasn't going to be a plan that just sits on a shelf somewhere and gathers dust, acts as like a bookend, that it was going to be implemented. And so this is like the next step in implementing the flood action plan. You know, 5th Street's done, 9th Street, the pumps are ordered, 7th Street's in the design phase. What else? We got some grant applications out for some flood, stormwater management, dealing with that mitigation in town. So this is kind of the next step. And all of these things I just mentioned, including this, these are listed as priorities in the flood action plan, right? And we finish these priorities, this one, then we move on to the next set. So we are moving forward, we're implementing this plan, and I'm proud of that. So with that, turn it over to you, Ryan.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'd first like to say it's an honor to be here. This is my first time presenting in front of a town council. I hope to have more of these types of arrangements in the future. Um, so let me introduce myself first. My name is Ryan St. Laurent. I was born and raised in Chesapeake Beach. It is one of the Twin Beaches. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but that's where I was born and raised. My family's from around here. In fact, what got me started, well, first, let's take a look at this map. This is a map of a survey that was completed in 1894. So about 130 years ago this year. Okay. You can see all of the black, the thick black is oyster reef. And I'm not talking oyster beds that we have out there, low lying. I'm talking three-dimensional oyster reefs, large structures. The Chesapeake Bay is, the name is even in itself is Algonquin for the Great Shellfish Bay. It was, John Smith was over here talking about how you couldn't drive your boat up without wrecking on one of these shoals. And they were oyster reefs coming up 20 feet, some of them, 50 feet. They were huge. And we like to think that, oh, oysters are a thing of the past and there's no more of them. It's kind of hopeless. We had them, we overharvested, we don't have them anymore. But 130 years ago in the environment is not a very long time. And it was 130 years ago that we had this. We had a reef lining our entire shoreline. So you can go to the next slide. This picture is aerial photographs of Laramie Lane in Lusby. Special to me because my great grandparents in the 80s, they bought a piece of property and they worked hard to build their own house on the cliff. And you can see, I can't really show you which one it is, but if you look at 2003, right in the middle, there's a white house. And if you look in 2022, that house is no longer there. Now, that's not my great grandparents, but that's their neighbors. And that's what's coming to them. It's a matter of time. Average erosion around the bay is something like 6 inches per year. On our cliffs and our shorelines, we can get 20 feet in one storm. It just depends on where those waves hit and what's below. And we're not doing anything to protect them. To protect them is a huge challenge. And that's our cliff erosion. That's our shoreline erosion. And above that, I work for Calvert Soil Conservation. And what we do is conserve. I'm an erosion sediment control specialist. So I do the land portion of protecting the waters of the state by making sure that all of construction activities go through filtering, reducing pollutants, reducing sediments. So I see what we're doing on land and I see what we're not doing in the water. And that's equally as important. We talk about the health of the bay, and if sediments and pollutants are calories, we're doing a really good job at not eating, but we're not doing the exercise. And the oysters are the exercise in the bay. That's what's going to burn these calories, and that's what's going to improve the water quality in the bay. So my question was, well, how do we get more oysters in the bay? They're doing sanctuaries, they're doing aquaculture, which is fantastic, but it's not enough. And it's clear that it's not enough by the water quality. It's not going up. If it does go up, it's most likely due to just a low rainfall year. And you can go to the next slide. So the solution is oyster reefs. It's going to both protect our shorelines. It's going to reduce the total suspended solids. It's going to provide habitat for all sorts of different organisms. You can see here, this is their nitrogen sink. Right now, they're working on nitrogen credits. We already have the carbon tax and the carbon credits where you pay to offset your mitigation. Well, they're introducing that for oysters, specifically for nitrogen. So this is another area that's going to provide more funding for oysters. Additionally, you can see the map on the right. The light purple is all shallow water. And what you'll notice is it's deepest right at our shoreline. In fact, the main stem of the bay turns at our shoreline. All that current is using our cliffs to turn. And if it weren't clay, it would be gone. Now, what used to be there was oyster reef. So that oyster reef was kind of bearing the brunt of that action. But now we don't have those anymore. So next slide, please. So this is a reef in action. This is Teahupo'o. This is one of the largest waves on Earth. The lip of it can be 10 feet thick and it crashes into 3 feet of reef. It's coral reef, but structurally, engineering wise, they act as the same thing. They're lead-crested breakwaters, they're low-crested sills, and they attenuate wave action by essentially kneecapping that wave. As you can see in the bottom left, It just runs out of water, the wave overtops, and then by the time it gets to shore, as you can see in the bottom right, it's nice and calm. Next slide. So past and current efforts to build reefs involve a lot of reef balls, reef castles, a lot of formed concrete, a lot of different manufacturing techniques. They're all constantly learning new stuff with increased technology, 3D printing and stuff like that. And these work great if you have a solid amount of oyster broodstock in the water. Broodstock's the amount of spat that's floating around for those 2 weeks until it finds a hard substrate to set on. And we don't have that on our shores anymore. So the only way to get reef with oyster is to set these manufactured, like all these devices that are manufactured, which is expensive, transport them to a hatchery. And then you have to set the spat on the reef balls or whatever concrete you're using. And then you plant them where you want to do them. And that's doable, but not at large scale. We have 33 miles of shoreline. So another solution had to be created. And that's what I'm working on right now. So if you go to the next slide, the goal is to make this as close to a natural reef as possible. And oyster reefs are actually fairly simple structurally. There's 3 parts. There's a reef core that's made of dead shell, of rocks, of detritus, of essentially all the sediments that have been in the past that kind of cement together to form this nice core. And then a reef veneer with live oysters. And that's what I'd like to replicate. VIMS did some studies. So my design incorporates a lot of background studies that I've read over the past 10 years. And what we've learned is that if you build oyster reefs 1 foot off the bay bottom and at 1 acre at a time, it will more likely be a self-sustaining reef. That seems to be the tipping point to where it gets to be a self-sustaining reef. And that's the main goal. So then the question becomes, well, what do we build the core out of? And my idea is the cheapest material we can find that's not going to float in the water and not going to sink in the mud. And that's where I'm thinking gabion baskets filled with some kind of cheap material, whether it's recycled material. It doesn't much matter what it is, because as long as it's not leaching chemicals, adjusting pH, it's not, releasing different pollutants throughout there. If it's clean, you can use it because it doesn't matter. It's dead. And then the goal is to put oyster veneer all around that to start this reef. You would need about 4 inches. You need 3 to 8 feet depth of water, which is perfect for our shoreline. It gets it nice and close to shore. So we're not going to be involved in removing fisheries. We're not going to be messing with channels. It'll just be shoreline protection right there. Another advantage of this, if you go to the next slide. Oh, well, let's get into this. So I work for Calvert Soil Conservation, like I said, and the function of the district is to take all available resources and focus them to meet the needs of the local conservation needs. I get called out as an erosion sediment control specialist to people with cliffs, with erosion all of the time. And it's really difficult. There's a few ways you can do it. The state's getting away from gray infrastructure, like revetments and just rock, essentially, bulkheads. And they want more green approaches. But our shoreline has a pretty high energy environment. So it requires a little bit of gray infrastructure. Go to the next slide. Or we'll skip this too. Yeah, we can come back to that. Sorry, skip that one too. And that one. Okay, yeah. So what we're proposing is you guys already have a revetment. Underneath that boardwalk is also a gravity-fed sewer pipe. It doesn't have a pump. So that elevation needs to stay sloped, or else all of these houses are going to start backing up into their houses. And then it's going to be an emergency repair. And that's not going to be pleasant for anybody involved. So our proposal would be to do some kind of offshore headland breakwater structure. And the advantage of this is it allows for migration in between. Fish can settle in there. Horseshoe crabs mate at North Beach. I've seen them. They'll still have access to the beach. And then, so we'll put the rock out front a little bit. And then the idea is to build an oyster reef past that. And that will act as almost a 2-phase solution where you have the oyster reef that's breaking the brunt of the wave energy from that long 100+ mile fetch in the south. And then you'll have the breakwaters that during our big storms, reefs are not going to be effective because we get 3 foot in elevation and it's just not going to break on the reefs. You need these big rock to protect it. So the beauty of it is that DNR approves oyster reef as mitigation. So if we're putting in this rock to protect, we can use the oyster reef as mitigation. And now we can go back a few slides. Sorry. Keep going back. Oh, these are forward. Skipped ahead of myself. That's all right. That was my fault for getting out of order. Yeah, right here is good. So what we're really good at, we've done a lot of living shorelines. We can do the survey work, we can do the drafting, technical design. You guys can read all of this. We can do a lot. And the goal is this is going to be a pilot reef. So what I want to do is test out a few different methods with gabions. I'm working with a few scientists that want to do some monitoring, and they want to even be involved in the design process to figure out kind of microtopography of how we build these reefs to make them as natural as possible. And then we do a bunch of other stuff. Permitting, we're really good at. We're a political subdivision of the state. So while it's Calvert Soil Conservation, we're not Calvert County run. We are a separate entity, and we can develop partnerships. We can apply for grants. We can do these types of projects where we provide these services. And coordination, essentially. Right now, it seems like that's the biggest missing piece right now is coordination of all the available resources to build these out here, and it's doable. You can go to the next one. So funding opportunities. For this project, we did a little bit of a cost estimate, and with the budget that you guys have, we're going to need a little bit more to build that full acre. And I'm adamant about the acre because we really need to make this a self-sustaining reef. We don't want to come back year after year and have to replant spat on shell. It can be about $60,000 for every 4 inches per acre. And that's just not a cost that we should be incurring if we don't have to, because it's going to grow theoretically at 4 inches per year, both out and up. So you talk about sea level rise. Rock doesn't grow with the sea level rise, but oysters do. So this is a long-term solution that will continue going. And because of that, it's recognized that this is a really good thing. So there's a lot of funding opportunities out there that I want to chase. From climate resiliency through NOAA, Maryland Artificial Reef Initiative, research grants. I'm already involved with everybody on here. I've spoken with at least one individual from these organizations, and they're all interested. Ecological restoration grants, because reefs are also living structures. So it's a living shoreline there. And it's going to have the crab population and the fish population are going to boom. Shoreline erosion grants from FEMA, education grants. I want to work with chest packs. I went to Beach Elementary. So this is how I got started in this. We took a trip right down to Bayfront Park. And ever since then, I just fell in love with the bay and I've never wanted to spend a time apart from it. So I want to introduce kids to that as well and give them something real. They can stuff gabion baskets with material, and then they can watch that on a barge get placed, and then spat on shell get placed on top of that. They can visit the hatcheries. That's kind of, I want to get the community involved in this, definitely. And it's already in motion. As soon as I have a project to actually do it, people are ready to go. Innovative technology funds. Like I said, this is a pilot reef. Nobody's tried this yet. It's just not been considered. Not many people are using oyster reef for the specific purpose of shoreline stabilization. And I don't know why, because they are. And I want to prove that. And this will prove that, because that's what they do naturally. And then watershed improvement plan, or whatever WIP stands for. Who knows what it stands for anymore? That's nitrogen credits and all that kind of stuff. Carbon. They're also a carbon sink. They're made of calcium carbonate. So they do that. And then FEMA disaster relief for a lot of our cliffs, houses that are at risk to be falling into the water. Some partners. It's pretty exhaustive. It's not quite exhaustive. It's a little overwhelming looking at all the people that are interested. But I've spoken with every single person on this list, and everybody is interested and they want to help. And I'm not asking for money from any of them. I just want their involvement to make this a success. And this back to here. So yeah, we have 210 linear feet of shoreline. So there's some design options that I would like you guys to consider. 210 feet by 210 feet is about an acre, which is perfect. It doesn't even come out as far as hard to see on this, but it doesn't even come out as far as the pier. So it's not a huge barrier to anything, but it is gonna, fishing pier is gonna be good fishing right afterwards, that's for sure. Within a year, within 2 years, the oyster spat on shell should form the solid veneer around it to where you don't even know what the inside is. Again, it doesn't matter. It's just the cheapest material that we can find. Also, the beauty of these headland breakwater structures, it's also hard to see on here, but they create this natural crescent. I'm not sure if you've been to Breezy Point since they put the headland breakwater structures in there, or Jefferson Patterson Park. There's some there as well. I recommend going. They have, you almost expect sediment accumulation behind. So you can go to the next one. And this kind of shows that. So in the bottom picture there, that is, they call it a low crested, a submerged breakwater. There's so many different names for this. Low crested sill, low crested breakwater, all sorts of stuff. But the idea that I want you guys to get from this is you're going to get sand accumulation behind there. So as we put these reefs out, it's going to add to that toe of the cliffs to where eventually, as the cliffs fall, they're going to be filling up. Am I out of time?
No, you're not.
Okay. Yeah, they're going to be filling up. And what that allows an opportunity for is additional plantings that weren't available right now. Like if you go down by Bayfront Park, it's pretty much water and then toe of the cliff. But what will happen is as those cliffs fall in the areas that don't have houses, if there's no infrastructure, we can let them fall and start building up the beach naturally. It's going to get our sand transport back. We might gain more beaches. That's what was happening naturally until we got rid of the oyster reefs that are holding the sediments to shore. Because right now, the sediments fall and they get washed out to the bay because there's so much current. But if you put that oyster breakwater there, then it's going to be filling up right behind, and you may get additional beaches where there weren't previously. This is about as green as gray infrastructure can get because it allows for that access and because it provides so much benefit. A lot of times people, in fact, plant right after installing these structures. They'll bring in a lot of sand and then plant it immediately to hold it. In your location, I don't think that's necessary because you have the revetment and you already have beach. So I expect some accumulation there right afterwards. You can keep going. So these are options. On the left, it goes from the greenest, which is just plantings, to the grayest, which is a bulkhead. We're going to be right to the right of middle in sills. So like right in the middle is where we're going to try to be. And because we have so much infrastructure, I think that's very reasonable for this location. We don't want to lose these houses. They're valuable, and the boardwalks too. And on the right is a good example of a living shoreline. You have a breakwater. Some of them are living, some of them are not. Then you have SAV. That's the other beauty of oysters. We're doing this for shoreline stabilization, but oysters almost have like an infinite list of what's good about them. It's one of the few things as an environmentalist that harms no one and helps everyone. The fishermen are going to love it. We're not taking away their fishing grounds. In fact, we're adding to what they're going to be able to fish because it's habitat. Regulators are happy about it because it's great for water quality. Sea level rise, not a problem. 4 inches a year is not what the sea level is going to be rising. That's for sure. Oysters do. And in high energy environments like we have, it's really necessary to have that gray infrastructure to give that during the storm surges to protect it. Additionally, you guys have that sewer pipe like I talked about along the boardwalk, and I need a little bit more investigation there. But potential to just put a vinyl bulkhead, and that flood goes right into Chapter 7 of that flood mitigation plan of building up that barrier to protect it. And if we can't do vinyl bulkhead for some reason, we have some other options like wrapping it in filter cloth and filling it with sediment and just doing different things. By the time we're done building the breakwaters and the oyster reef, you shouldn't really need much protection by the reef. You're not going to hit, or by the shoreline, you're not going to have waves that are going up to the third floor of houses anymore. And that's by diffraction. By the way, if you're interested. When you have a gap in these breakwaters, instead of having waves have like a certain amount of energy per linear foot. So if you have a 60-foot gap and that gets spread out over the course of 180 because you now have a curve like diffraction, it's like a slit experiment. Actually, if you go to the previous slide, the top picture shows a good example, if you guys can see that, where it fans out. And that also slows down water and allows for sediment deposit and buildup of the land again. And Yeah, we just really, as soon as you guys give us the go ahead, if you give us the go ahead, I'm going after this head first. We're going to be out there doing surveys. We're going to be doing soil samples. I'm going to be applying for more grant funding, just to make sure that we can get that full acre and make it successful.
Tell you what, Ryan, first of all, thank you so much for being here. Your knowledge and your enthusiasm is very obvious. And a lot of us also graduated from Beach Elementary.
Mhm.
I was there when they first built the building, but that's another story, another day. It's interesting, talk about Breezy Point and JPP. And we are going to take a little road trip down there to see, because it'd be interesting to see. What we're finding is that the storms are not as frequent, but they're more severe now. So that area down from Atlantic Avenue, I mean, the last couple of storms have moved the Jersey walls. So we need to do something to stop the waves breaking on the Jersey wall.
Mhm.
And again, the idea about rising sea levels, this is going to continue to grow.
Mhm.
I love it. We have an amazing flood committee is very active, and I know council has been, really motivated to, make as many improvements as we can, and we focus on that. So thank you so much. I'm sure council will have some questions.
Oh, just one quick question. There are two options here. How come you have two options? Are you just, I like the one that, has the Oyster Reef going further in front of Atlantic.
So there's really four options, because we could like make the reef kind of any shape. I want to work with a modeling expert. I actually just met with them on Tuesday over at Cambridge Horn Point Laboratory. They study, it's Dr. Matt Gray. He's an ecophysiologist, and he's studying oyster reef structures as shoreline stabilization. He's the only scientist I know of doing that. And then his partner Williams, a civil engineer from Italy by training, and then he's over there helping him, and he's got apparently magnificent modeling. So I want to talk, because that's my question. I have a lot of questions, and that's why this is a pilot reef. For example, what top width do we need to have a really effective breakwater, like low crested sill, that's going to be functional and it's going to actually attenuate the waves? It's not 0, it's not 1 inch, it's not 100 yards. Where is it in between, and what's the most economical way to do that? So yeah, I'm going to be working with the scientists to form that. And also my ambitious goal is to line all 33 miles of Calvert County shoreline with oyster reef. I want to build all of that back. So this is really just the start. This is the pilot reef of proof of concept to show, A, we can build them, B, they work, C, they're self-sustaining. And if they're self-sustaining, that means they're paying for themselves, because they're providing so many different ecosystem benefits and providing to the economy, the cultural aspects of it, the environmental aspects. Again, nitrogen sink, phosphorus sink. They do things that nothing else can do. Like the silts and the fines, like the clays that we're getting in the water column, don't settle. They just don't. They need to be filtered. And what I always say is, if you have a pool filter running at 2% capacity, what's that water going to look like? So you can expect that the water is not going to get better until we bring back oysters. And this is just a special way that really hits all the boxes. Where it hurts nobody, helps everybody.
I do. I just have a comment.
Mhm.
So I don't, first of all, did you have Miss O'Donnell as your first grade?
Yes. No, Miss O'Donnell sounds like my 9th grade science teacher.
Michelle O'Donnell.
Okay, Michelle O'Donnell. Okay.
So for many years, I was working with her a long time, because I lived in Burns Island.
Hmm.
And we lived on the river, and she would bring me these baskets of spat every year, because I was part of the oyster program and clean water. And we'd hang those baskets on the pier, and, it would start out, it was a good sized basket, but, the oysters start out with it looks like a pew, like you can shake them around.
Hmm.
By the end of the winter time, of course, it was a dirty job.
Yeah.
You had to go down there and shake them.
Yep.
You had to clean them. But by the end of the year, like, that basket was bulges. It didn't take long. It
No.
was just the winter.
Hmm.
But then, we did a lot down there with Bernie Fowler,
Mhm.
who was a former state senator. I don't know. if
Yeah, the Wade. Yeah,
Yeah.
Protection Wade. Yep. Yep. Hmm.
We would go in and we would do this every year. He started it in Burns Island. And we would go in and he would wade in till we'd all hold hands, we'd go in, and every year the water was getting better and better.
Mhm.
Doing the oyster conservation.
Yep.
And building the Teresa. So I've been doing this a long time. I'm all for this, like this is amazing to me.
Mhm.
So, you know, I mean, just the way the oysters filter and clean the water, not only the habitats and the marine life that it brings in, you know, there's a lot of great benefits to it.
Yeah.
I can't believe we eat those things, honestly.
Well,
But-
let me just say too, while I have you, we need to eat more, but make sure they're aquaculture because the shell economy is the number one problem right now. We don't have the shell. Spat doesn't set on anything like it does a shell. That's what it's made to do. It's what it's designed to do. So eat more oysters, save your shells. Yeah, there are organizations that will pick them up from you. Yeah,
Very awesome.
thank you.
It's great.
Thank you all. You got it. Awesome. Thank you all.
All right. So the next two on the agenda, I'm gonna make sure I didn't skip around. All right, so the first one, he did not want us to do this, but we're doing it anyway. We just want to recognize our council member who has been involved for many years. Is a key component to what we do in our town. And we had the pleasure today to attend his retirement ceremony in the Pentagon. And yes, I got into the Pentagon, so don't ask that question. It was a wonderful trip, had a great co-pilot. Joanne was there. We had Bud, had a lot of residents there. It was a great turnout. There he is. I will be honest, I almost started singing the Marine Corps hymn, but I looked around and the two-star beside me was a foot taller than me. And I said, I'm good. I'm not going to say anything. So make sure I'm right here, Greg. 22 years Air Force and 22 and a half years, or how many in the Fed? I mean, at working for Department of the Army.
Well, weren't all of them, but total civil service was 22 years and 8 months, and then the Air Force was 22 years and 1 month. So just 3 months shy of 45 years.
We're going to round up. It was 45 years. We're going to round up, but it was an amazing ceremony today. It was so cool to watch. And, you know, us knowing who was up there was made it even more special. So we just want to thank you for your service. We now feel like we're going to see you more. So that's good. We might even get some golf games in, maybe. Yeah, we're going to try
hope.
that. But I just want to recognize Greg for an unbelievable career. He's retired from that, but he's not done yet. And we got him a couple small gifts over there. We want to thank you for everything you've done and what you're going to continue to do.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you for being there. Thanks, Stacy, for being there, and former Councilman Bud Hunt and his wife Joanne. Thank you all, and I know some of y'all, other than Don, watched it online. So I know my neighbor Lauren sent me a couple of screenshots. Screenshot that was nice. So thank y'all. Yeah, I'm glad it's over with. As I said, I never thought I would step foot back into that building after 8.5 years there, but I went back for another 19. So anyway, thank you all so much. It's been great serving this nation that I love, and I want to stop now before I start tearing up
Thank you
again.
so much.
Thank you all.
All right. The next one, oh, he didn't see a big more.
Too funny.
It is a nice song, kind of.
It's cheerful. Right.
You know,
It's the Army.
yeah, he's from the old guard, and they specifically go out and select certain individuals that have great voices, and then they train them to do that. Yeah. No.
Yes.
No, a lot of them go on to be a part of the Army Television Network or DoD TV network or radio. So yeah, They have pretty good careers.
Good. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you
for the
all.
invitation to come. All right, the next one, another recognition. Wow, it's hard to believe, but Stacy's 25-year anniversary. And counting. You know, Stacy, I've been in this or elected for the last 13 and a half years, and it's great to be able to, you know, call on. We have the most amazing staff around, and Stacy is a huge a part of the project of making North Beach better every single day. And I want to thank you because I know I lean on you, and 7 days a week, I've texted you, called you, talked to you many times at night, and your husband hasn't chased me down yet, so that's good. But we want
Well,
to thank you
good.
for your dedication to the town. You're amazing, and just keep up the hard work. All right. She didn't want me to say that part. She handles her own stuff, so leave her alone. All right, North Beach Town Limit Report.
All right, May was pretty quiet, thankfully. We only had to make a couple of arrests. As far as June, we're ready to go. A couple extra deputies for tomorrow evening for the first Friday. So I think we'll have 7 there. And the Dragon Boat Festival, there'll be a couple deputies there. So we're all geared up for the weekend. So it was asked about traffic enforcement initiatives like we did last year. So we have DUI enforcement coming up, and I'll let you guys know after the fact how that goes. Same with some traffic enforcement initiatives. We do also have a pedestrian crossing initiative coming up too. So, but I'll keep you posted month by month on how they all go, and so
Thank you.
you'll see us out there. Yep.
This report is in board docs for residents that can tap into, but also council. I want to thank you. And then, like I said, tomorrow, you know, we've made some adjustments from the first one. So I'm hoping that things go a lot smoother. But for anybody that's watches a recording, 535-2800 is the number you call unless it's 911. And 911, there's a small window of what really that means. You know, if you see something crazy, unless it's dangerous, it's 535-2800. They will reach out to the deputy on duty, and within minutes, you will have a deputy. But it's 535-2800. Tell them what you need, and they will reach out to the deputies. If it's 911, call 911. But most of the time in our town, it's not 911. So thank you so much. Any questions for Lieutenant?
I just have one
Oh,
question.
yes.
The road school dance is on. I know that they had some complaints with speed. I'm just curious, since Fifth Street is opened up in front of the library, because I feel like that was the last cut through. You know, people
Yes.
rushing to get down wherever they needed to go. You feel like that's helped that road be less?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, I've actually been sitting there a little bit in the mornings, and I find that I haven't seen any real problems there. So, but I'll keep an eye on it and let you
Evenings and
know.
weekends are really bad there.
Okay.
Just like going out of town after 7th Street, they turn at Mexico, and then it's a drag strip going out of town.
It really is.
7th
Got it.
Street, if you sit out of Vaughn Cheese trying to eat, or you go to Mexico,
Yes.
they fly through there. So
Okay.
it's usually in the evenings and weekends, especially in the summertime. But continue to do what you can do. You're visible,
Got
and
it.
just keep doing that.
Okay.
Ballet beer night, because that's when they drop off.
Is that right?
So, you know, it may be a little-
Got it. All right, we'll do. I'll pass that on to the. Yeah, this is gonna be
Any other
a
questions?
good weekend.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's move right into code enforcement zoning report. Rick? His report is included again for everybody to read, take a look at it. I will tell you that Rick and I talked many times this week, and he will be one that needs a beer this week, but we'll leave that alone. He's got a long week. He had a long week.
Yeah, it's been a long week. I've had several questions about the patisserie that is attempting to open on the corner of 7th and Bay Avenue. Their business was approved at the last planning commission. It was based on having to provide 8 off-street parking spaces. I'm working with the contractor now to get the curb cut and the sidewalk done and the engineered plan for the parking. It appears they're gonna go with something that's completely green. They're gonna do gravel parking with geotech. Um, One of the neighbors that backs up to the parking lot came to the planning commission in support of them. Uh, Their only concern was the screening, so that there'll be a whole planting and screening plan in place as well.
And also, with having said that, uh, social media has its own world, and then there's reality outside of that. They're going through, the state's involved in this project, the county's involved in this project, fire marshal's involved in this project. Rick has been knee deep into it. Many, many, many meetings with the, not
Howard County EDC, State Fire Marshal, inspections and permits, erosion and settlement control, uh, Health Department. We were there for 2 hours today with the Health Department, so.
So we are making sure that every step is checked. Though they were approved, they still have a large checklist they have to do to be able to get that right to open. So I think they.
Yeah, so what a lot of
solved it.
people confuse is what took place at the planning commission was the use was approved for that location. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to open. It just means that the planning commission approved their parking plan for the type of use they have for that location in that zone of the town.
All right. Any questions, council?
I just want the big tree that came down on Fifth,
Yep,
dying or?
yep. So Mr. Antonioli is the head of the town's tree committee. He reached out to, I believe, 9 different arborists trying to find someone that said, we can save it so that it's not going to fall at some point and take out a dozen houses. And he just could not. They all said the same thing.
He has spent a ton of money over the last 10 years trimming it. I mean, a ton of
Yeah,
money.
I'm sad because that was like one of the big trees.
Yeah, he was not happy about having to do it. It's been going, he's been trying to find a way to save it for the last 5 or 6 months. And they literally could not find a single arborist that said it was a viable option to try and save the tree. It probably would have lasted another 4 or 5 years, but at the size of the tree, they literally determined it could take probably 8 or 9 houses out on that block if it went over, so. And then if you drove by, you saw the size of the crane, that gives you an idea of just how massive that tree really was. 11.
Here today, and the piece they took down right before I came to the meeting weighed over 2,000 pounds. It was just one piece that was
One piece, yeah.
about 10 feet high.
Yeah, it was,
And they had to put it in the middle of the road because they have to cut it into pieces because they couldn't put it on the truck because it would have smacked.
it was like a sporting event there today. At one point, there was like 47 people with lawn chairs sitting on the opposite side of the street watching them cut this tree down. That's,
This is the biggest tree of its kind in Calvert and state of Maryland. Wow.
yeah, he tried for a long, long time to not have to do it, so.
Any questions for Rick?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Marketing, Dawn.
Hello. Let's see. So May was National Travel and Tourism Month. So I was kind of busy with my partners in the county. We had a tourism meeting that I hosted at the new library here. Everyone loved that. They can't wait to come back and bring people from, the southern end of the county, mid-county. Mike and I attended the commissioners meeting for, they presented a tourism proclamation. We were there that day, and probably the only time that the electricity went out during one of the commissioners meetings. So that was really weird.
They didn't pay their bills.
Yeah.
I'm teasing.
So,
Don't call me
so we did
commissioners.
that. And then we did a, kind of Calvert in a day. We started in North Beach at the Bayside History Museum, with the same tourism partners in the county, and went to the Bayside History Museum, the Railway Museum, Jefferson Patterson Park, Amory Gardens, Calvert Marine Museum. I'm missing something. Anyway, just a way to visit, and so each partner could showcase their area. And Grace Mary gave us a tour around the museum, and we got to get our picture taken in front of her new mural that was just finished maybe that morning. I'm not sure. So that was kind of neat. The only other thing I'll mention is I'm still working with Fox 5 BC's planners to do the zip trip on June 28th. They'll be live in North Beach from 8 to 11 that morning. So my goal is to showcase North Beach as a whole, our waterfront, the parks, the businesses, other groups in the area. So that's going to be a fun morning. We did it in 2019, and it was really fun. It went by kind of fast, but we were everywhere and, you know, on the waterfront with them, and it was fun. So if you guys can come down on that morning, I know some of you can't, but I think I'll be there by 5:30 or 6, and then we'll be going strong till 11. So,
Thank you so much. Any questions
you.
for Dawn? Her report is included. All right. Public Works, DB.
Good evening, everyone. I'd just like to take a quick second and say thank you to the council and the mayor for listening to Ryan's presentation. I think with his passion that North Beach could be another first. We could be on Jacques Cousteau's Underwater Adventures or something neat like that, or some Chesapeake Bay magazine. I'd just like to say thank you all. I thought that was a great idea. We've talked several times, but never that much in detail. And tonight's presentation pretty in-depth and pretty amazing what he was planning on doing. So thank you for your time listening to that. And my report's in there. Had a bunch of stuff on there. If anybody has any questions, since Ryan did take a while, I'll keep the meeting rolling if you want to ask a question about anything on the list or.
We have so many capital projects going, which
I think
y'all get
before we
another
have
update tomorrow.
27 capital projects right now, grant funded and ARPA money projects. We have 27. I mean, some of those are completed. All of them are in progress at one point or another, but I'd say we have 7 or 8 that are probably totally completed. Lauren mentioned several of the stormwater ones. We have, 7th Street, 9th Street, 5th Street's done. We have that presentation there would cover the breakwaters along the 7th Street to Hatches Corner area. So we've got tons of stuff going on. We did do one nice option today. We put in a water line, some valve systems and a water line to where if we have to take our water tower offline, which we never had since I've been here for 15 years, we have to take that off routinely to get it painted. The inside, if you take it down, take the inside out to get it painted, you have to cure it, you have to do the test, it takes about a month to get it back in service. We never had a way to run the well at the tower. You had to just use Greenwood Avenue well. I never did feel comfortable with that because you take the well offline, it could be off for a month. We put in a valve system, put in piping. Now we can go around the tower and we can use well 1 or well 2. So if we have a problem at Greenwood, we have a backup now anytime we go to take the tower offline. So that was completed. Now we have a new control panel, that valving done, and that should be good for the next 150 years from now.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any questions
Yep.
for DB?
Quick question.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
not sure if this actually falls under you or maybe Phil, but I was over at Callis Park and it looks like there's a significant amount of damage to the fencing around the well over there, or the pump station or whatever that is over there. Did you see that?
From time to time, we have, I had a teenager, I'm not saying that, but we had
That's what it
kids
looks
to
like.
kick out
like
the
they're-
fence or soccer balls or whatever. And we've been able to pop them back in. Luckily, the vinyl fence, and we can kind of bend it and get it right back in. We'll check it tomorrow and make sure. But usually around this time of the year when school's getting out, it's more frequent and it kind of dies off as it gets hot. But maybe that's, graduation. I went to Huntingtown's last night till 11 o'clock. So it is graduation week in the county. I think all 4 schools graduate yesterday and today. So that might have a little to do with it, but we'll check it out and make sure. But luckily, like for us, we haven't had to replace any of that. We can usually, they kick them out and they're right there on the ground so we can put them right back in. So.
Yeah, there was some of that, and there's some that looked like they might have hit with a hammer because it was actually cracked. And
Was it
smashed,
cracked?
and
Yeah.
It was quite a bit of.
We'll check it out. That company's in Pennsylvania, so we can get replacement panels, luckily for that. So
And if it was damaged, we'll go ahead and get Lieutenant Hollinger to meet over there. We'll do a report and submit it. It's the school gets out, sadly, that fence gets kicked in more than it doesn't. That's why we have that RFP, or we have the results from that camera system. So hopefully we can start cracking down a little bit more on that, but definitely get on it, check it out tomorrow.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I just have one question. For item number 4, when you say flood dike, which one are you talking about?
That's the berm that was built by environmental concerns.
Up over the 9th Street where all the.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
the north end
I
of
was
town.
kind of visual in my mind which one you're talking about. Now it's sinking. Is that sort of the same problem which we had with the rocks which are out here that you just sort
Um,
of like?
I'm not really a
Scatter?
hundred, yeah, I'm not really 100% sure that it's sinking as much as it could have been. I mean, it could have been 2 or 3 inches lower than the rest of the berm, but we've had so many tidal events since January. We had like 24 events where the tides come up high enough to overtop it. And I think what's happened is it started find a weak point. You know, when water finds a weak point there, it's about a 50-foot section in there. That's a little bit lower than the other. So it's running over that section and you can actually see the dirt, right on the
So
neighbor's
it's
yard. there.
subsuming
But
it or is it
it's more,
reducing it
it
from
might
the
be a
top?
little bit of sinking, but it's erosion.
Okay.
And once
It's going over the top and it's reducing it that way? Not coming from the bottom?
Right.
Oh,
But yeah, you can see like it's a foot of silt right at the bottom of the dike. So it came from the top but we did contact environmental concerns about a repair and also contacted them to see in the original permit. I'm looking right now to see if the town is able to go in there and just do like a minor repair like that. We're thinking minor repair aside and get it back up to elevation 4.0 to stop it. It used to be once a year that would happen, but now since January, like I said, I don't know how, it's at least 5 or 6 times. Yep.
99% sure there's a maintenance call.
Luckily, it's calmed down a little bit. Like say, January through April was rough. It was 26 different events where, all of them weren't that high, but it was.
Goes in conversation with the oyster. So all right, any other questions? All right, thank you. Let's move right into treasury report.
Treasurer's report is for the month of February. The cash balance and the checking fund is $1,352,000 this year. Last year was $1,358,000. The MLGIP fund balance was $3,105,000. For capital is $96,000 and water capital is $46,000. ARPA funds is $2,140,000. Total cash available to the town of North Beach is most significant item to report is the $128,018.
Thank you. Her report is included. Any questions? Joe's not finished tonight, but for this report, she is. Any questions?
Just one question. How is for the gaming from second quarter of this year from last year? Is it up, down, sideways?
I can
Yeah, just,
look it up and send you.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, any other questions? Nope. All right, let's keep going. Waterfront report. Phil's son, his last remaining high school child is graduated today, so he will not be here tonight. But I do want Lisa to come up and just mention a couple items, if you don't mind, Lisa. I know you got some events going on over there. If you want to say a couple of events, what's going on? I know the trail has been well received. A lot of great things going on over there. Just take a moment and just mention some of the items you're doing over there.
Well, I appreciate Dawn. She's done a really good job of helping to get the word out about some of the different events and hikes and things that we're having over at the Wetlands Overlook Park. And I've been trying to write up about some of the things that are happening, like the Scouts putting in the new trail, and she's been putting that out there and getting the word out. So more people are coming to walk on our little green woodland trail. We're having a lot of walks on the trail. People are coming from all over Calvert County saying they didn't know about Wetlands Overlook Park. So that's really great, but it's mostly local people are coming. We are excited. We're going to have our first campfire. Deb and Jeff Noyes donated a campfire pit. And so on June 21st, we're going to have a campfire with our new fire pit over at Wetlands Park. So we're excited about that. Hopefully for the summer, I'll have a part-time staff person help out so we can run some really fun events. Because just like Mike said, the kids are going to be getting out of school. So we're going to have a lot more visitors. And I was there today with the tree being cut down. The tree actually had a beetle called ambrosia beetle. And then so the tree could not survive. And we're sorry to hear that because that was our champion tree. We still have one champion tree left. It's over at Wetlands Park, but we're going to be looking for another champion tree. So if you know anyone's in their neighborhood that seemed like their street tree that looks pretty big, we can measure it and maybe give it a plaque with the tree committee. So thanks for having me come up and talk, and have a good summer, everybody. Congratulations, Stacy and Greg.
All right, let's move right into the town of North Beach welcomes public comments. Please step to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you're attending by Zoom, please enter your public comment in the chat box.
Can I make an announcement, Assistant Governor?
That's Grace Mary, if you don't know who that
Listening to
is.
what she had to say. Grace Mary Brady with the Bayside History Museum. We worked 3 years to get information on the first African-American Boy Scout camp, which was started in 1952 in Lusby. A gentleman called us a couple months ago. I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to see the County Times this week, but he was an extraordinary gentleman, and he came. He's 83 years old, and he knew the name of every person that went to camp with him. He is a colonel, retired from the Air Force. His best friend is an admiral in the Navy, and these guys have carried around their Boy Scout memorabilia for 72 years. So they have donated it to the museum, and we had almost 60 people pile in this weekend when they saw the article to see all of this information about the first African-American Boy Scout camp. So when you all have a chance, stop by. We've been asked to do a documentary on it. And we've just been lucky. We really had tried for 3 years to find anybody that ever went there. So if you think about it, it's 1952 to 1956. It's a very small window. And who went there? Do you have a picture? Colonel Gregory is amazing because not only did he come bearing pictures and scouting memorabilia, he knew the name of every single kid in those pictures. So we'll have another book out within the next month. And of course, you all get the first copy of everything when we do it. But it really has been a treasure trove. And his best friend is a retired Admiral Navy. And he found out about us and sent us his whole box of stuff. These guys have been carrying this stuff for 70 some years. And they attribute scouting for the leadership skills that really started a lot of their careers. So we now have 4 very high-ranking military people that have donated items to us because they thought scouting was so important. So come by and see it. You're welcome.
There's such treasures in this town. Make sure you get by the museum. All right, let's move on. Ordinance and resolutions. I'm going to read it. All right, I need a motion to pass ordinance 24-01, an ordinance of the council of the town of North Beach approving and adopting a budget for the town of North Beach for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025. FY 2025. Allocating expenses and appropriating money to the town general fund, sewer fund, water fund, capital projects fund, and community conservation fund, and establishing the various tax rates for fiscal 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the fiscal 25 budget? You have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion, second. Any discussion? And not hearing any discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next item is a motion to pass ordinance or resolution, excuse me. Hold on one second. Yeah, resolution 24-02, North Beach fee schedule to adjust the tax rate to reflect the FY 2025 budget as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Not hearing anything. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, guys. Great job. Nothing on the business items. Let's go right to the mayor and council reports. I'm going to let the retired gentleman lead the way tonight.
Again, thank you everyone for your support. This was as I said, not something I wanted to do, but after some encouragement, I'm glad that I did have the ceremony today. Totally shocked. Just still just kind of shocked at the people that were there. So thank you. Appreciate that. And thank you to the town for whatever this is in the box from the mayor, the council, and the staff. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. And Ms. Grace.
Your first cup of coffee on your retirement day deserves a homemade
Oh
coffee.
my, oh my.
What time is that gonna be?
I may hide this from Chris.
That's why I came tonight.
We have coffee downstairs in case you're wondering.
And if she hears
Everybody in this
about
room.
me and not bringing this to her house, man, get me in even more trouble. But thank you, everyone, and look forward to seeing some of you all out tomorrow night and this weekend as well. So that's it.
Thank
Be
you so
safe
much.
out there.
Thank you so much, Paul. Councilman Tronco.
Thank you everybody for coming out. Of course, congrats to Greg and to Stacy for all of your service to the town and our country. And also just wanted to give a shout out to Joanne. I think I've been on the council for, I don't know, 10 plus years now. I think every year the budget presentation gets better and better every year. And this year was just really great and very easy to follow and just very clear and concise. So thank you for all of your hard work and putting that together, and the mayor and the rest of the staff as well. I know everyone's kind of involved in that, but that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Ken.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming out, and congrats on the retirement, and thank you for all your service and 25 years with another 10-ish to go, maybe. Just everybody, we've got the Dragon Boat Race coming up this weekend, and then we've got the fireworks happening before we meet again. So everybody enjoy. Have a good beginning of your summer.
Thank you, Ken.
I'm on my, all right, keep it short. I did enough talking today. Good to see everyone. Dragon Boat Saturday. We're serious. We want to win that. We want that cup. And we're going to dig deep and paddle strong and paddle fast, but we need all of you out there cheering us on as loud as you can. But again, we need that cup. We do. Right? So other than that, just happy summer, happy June. See you all on Saturday. Friday and Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday we'll be sleeping.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mary.
Thanks everyone for coming out. Of course, big weekend, Dragon Boat Races, second year in a row, I'm a captain. Last year, Chesapeake Beach didn't compete. They were scared.
I second that.
This year, they have a team, so we're going head to head. It's gonna be probably one of the last races. It'll be exciting, and I hope we have enough in the tank to bring it across the finish line and bring that cup home. So that being said, I went to the North Beach School of Dance, formerly Abigail's production, which, I mean, this is the program. It was beautiful. Like, I was so impressed by that. Like, we are so lucky to have that School of Dance in town, and how amazing it is, and how I was just blown away. I can't even say enough about it, but they did a great job. Thank you, Abigail, for bringing that school to this town, and thank you, Becky, for continuing. They did a great job, and go North Beach.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. Good luck to everybody rowing. I'm mad. This is my second year in a row. I'm out of town and can't row. So hopefully next year my schedule will let me row, because I want to row. It's fun. Especially love when we do much better than the town that way.
I have the best counsel, don't I?
Hey, it's a big trophy. Nice, especially great downstairs in the case. Beyond that, on the 15th, we have the first movie of this summer on the beach at dusk. And I got a new projector this year, so hopefully it should be nice and bright. And it should be a lot easier to set up now, too. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much. Today's a big day. Today's the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So I want to make sure that we don't forget those who came before us, who made the ultimate sacrifice. I can't imagine what was going through these young people's head when they were storming and doing what they were doing. So today's the 80th anniversary. I believe there's 70 living members left. Not very large group, but just, just don't forget them. And I do want to bring up, for months now, we've been talking about this parking study, street study, parking study, street study. And we hired a company, COA, to do the study, Rick from zoning and DB from DPW, and have been working with it. And then once we get the information back, we did get some of it back, but it wasn't quite prepared, so we send it back. Mickey has volunteered to step up to help lead the way. So when we take it to the public, I don't think anybody ever dreamt, and I'm somebody who grew up in this town, that the number of guests we would ever have here. It was never designed that way. It was never built that way. Our streets aren't built that way. And as you know, we're a town that truly appreciates our guests. We want them to feel inviting, but I also, I work for the residents of this town. So does this council up here. And so stay tuned. There'll be public work sessions and so forth. I have never, as a leader, flip-flop back and forth. So I'm not going to pull the trigger on something because of it's not what we want today. What I want to do is that when we move forward, it is exactly what we need to do for the next 20 years, not the next 20 days. And I'm sure council 100% supports that. So stay tuned. The can's not being kicked down the street. It's just that we want to do this right and do it one time, because it's going to be a large financial investment from the town and the residents to make this happen. So I want to pass that on, so whoever's watching or hears it, they know what's going on. Other than that, what a wonderful day, wonderful summer. I appreciate everybody coming. You're amazing. And if there's nothing else, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So move second. Second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.